Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be trying on some new makeup. Not everything is a super new makeup release, but some of these products are pretty new to me and they're pretty much my first makeup purchases of 2025, so I wanted to test them on camera with you guys. But before we get into it, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it, and let's get into it. I picked up a couple of things from Sephora and one of those includes a travel size perfume. I wasn't going to purchase any perfume so far this year because I really want to use up the ones that I have in my collection, but I figured I would finally treat myself because I have been using the ones that I have and it's been a really long time since I purchased any sort of fragrance, and most of them I am more than halfway through with, so I figured it was time to treat myself. But I did get the Kayali Yum Pistachio Gelato 33 perfume, and this one smells delicious. I can see why this is such a popular perfume. It is sweet, and it does have pistachio gelato, hazelnut, I think sweet rum, and whipped cream and cotton candy, so very, very sweet, but surprisingly not overwhelming. It doesn't give me a headache, at least not from the couple of times that I've tried it so far, but they describe it as a delicious combination of rich, nutty pistachio and hazelnut, a truly yummy fragrance that charms with an unforgettable gourmand scent trail that will have you smelling good enough to eat. So this is truly a sweet, gourmand fragrance, so I'm really happy with it. Today was the second day that I've tried it, and I feel like it is an intense perfume, but not overwhelming, if that makes sense. So I can do maybe 2 sprays and not feel like it's too much on me, and it does linger for hours and hours. So I'm very happy with that perfume, but let's go ahead and get into the makeup. I picked up the Beauty Blender Bound Skin Tint in the shade Light 5, which is definitely a better match for me. I used to have the shade Medium 2, but that one was about a shade too deep for me, and it was also way too peachy. This one is still a little bit peachy on me, so I'm probably gonna mix this green color corrector into it. This one is the e.l.f. Camo color corrector, just to make it more olive undertoned. I did try it yesterday and I really like it. I used to wear it every once in a while, but again, because of the shade match, I rarely ended up wearing it, so I wanted to get a better shade for me. The dropper on this is so high quality, especially compared to the Maybelline and L'Oreal skin tints. I love those, but they can be super, super messy, but this one is pretty much mess-free. It's so easy to control how much product comes out, but here's the shade Light 5. And I'm gonna mix a little bit of this green camo color corrector from e.l.f. I'm gonna mix about that much. So I'm just swatching it on my cheek, and I think that looks really good. I find that adding that green color corrector doesn't change the finish all that much. It might make it a little bit more matte, but since I'm adding just a little bit, I don't think it changes it all that much. And this skin tint has a really pretty natural finish. It is buildable as well, so it doesn't cake up, and it's super lightweight, so I don't feel like I'm wearing anything on my skin. I do wish I would have picked up the shade Light 4 instead, but the good thing is that with that green color corrector, I can make it a better match for me. But see how that just evened out my skin tone? I'm really, really liking this finish. I kind of just want a light layer of this today, so even though I could build it up a little bit more, especially around my cheek area, I did do that yesterday and it did look really nice and seamless. But today I just want to do a light layer, keep it more lightweight in general. I'm just going to press over it with my beauty blender. And this one is an actual beauty blender from the brand Beauty Blender, not just a makeup sponge. And I've been really loving this sponge. It has the perfect firmness to it. The Tarte Creaseless Creamy Concealer, this one I picked up during Black Friday, and I've used it a handful of times, and so far I do really like it. I got the shade 27S Light Medium. This one has really great coverage, and it doesn't dry out my under eyes. I've really been struggling with dry under eyes lately, and I have noticed a lot more fine lines, so a lot of concealers haven't been looking the best on me. Now, I wouldn't call this one 100% creaseless. It does crease up a little bit on me, but nothing that bothers me. But I would say it does crease up a little bit more than my House Labs concealer. That one is probably the most crease-proof concealer that I've tried. So it is a really good concealer. I do recommend it so far, but not 100% crease proof, just putting that out there. So I'm gonna pat it out with my concealer brush. I do really like that this doesn't exaggerate the dryness on my under eyes. I've really been struggling with that. So I would say it does seem to be somewhat hydrating, but it does dry down and it doesn't look shiny on my under eyes. I really don't like a shiny looking concealer for me personally. And then pressing over it with my sponge. And I'm just reapplying some of this Ole Henriksen Pout Preserve Peptide Lip Treatment. That is really hard to say for some reason, but this is a really good lip mask or lip treatment. It's so nourishing and hydrating. Maybelline came out with these lifter sticks, and these are multi-use face sticks. So essentially you can use them as concealer, foundation, and cream bronzer or cream contour. You can also highlight with them, of course. The shade range seems decent. They did come out with 18 shades, but besides that, I do have a problem with the packaging of this so far. I cannot twist up this product for some reason. I don't know if it's not supposed to twist up, but I thought you should be able to. It seems like the kind of packaging that you can twist up. But here is shade 65, and this is a deeper warm tone shade. This one works for me pretty well as a cream bronzer. It might be a hint too warm though, so maybe I should have picked up a neutral shade. But I did like this one as a cream bronzer yesterday. I'm gonna try not to apply as much as I did though, because it is very pigmented, but very, very creamy. I don't know how this would work as a foundation or concealer. I'm not the biggest fan of foundation sticks, so I didn't really want to pick up a foundation shade in this product. I really just wanted to use it as a cream bronzer. So blending that out with my e.l.f. Complexion Duo brush. Yeah, it's just a little bit too warm. I would have preferred a more neutral shade, but since it is super blendable, I feel like I can make it work. I did apply way too much product yesterday, so I did go in more light-handed today. I'm gonna add a little bit to the sides of my nose and along my jawline. I know this isn't a contour shade, but I kind of just wanna lightly sculpt with it. Yeah, I love how creamy this product is. Maybe I should try it in a foundation shade. I do wish they would have come out with some blush shades, but maybe they will in the future because this formula is super creamy. So I feel like it would work really nicely as a blush. Hopefully they do eventually, but I really like the way that looks so far. And even though the shade is just a little bit too warm for my liking, I feel like I was able to make it work. But let's go ahead and apply some liquid blush now. These are the Revlon Glimmer blush drops, which are, I think, supposed to be a dupe for the Hourglass blush drops, which I've never tried before, but I really like this packaging because it's really easy to dispense the product. So you can just press the button on the back here and it dispenses a drop. So I'm gonna do probably less than a drop because it is very pigmented. I did try this one yesterday as well, and this is in the shade Coralicious. I thought this was gonna have a little bit more of a sheen to it or a glowy finish, but it looks almost like a natural finish on the skin, or almost matte, I would say. I only tried it once yesterday, so let's try it again. So I'm gonna pick it up on my Rare Beauty blush brush. It is very pigmented, so I am pre-blending it on the back of my hand. Yeah, it does dry down very quickly, I would say. So that is with one light layer, or at least a light layer for me. And yeah, I don't really see much of a sheen to it or like a glow. I feel like the name Glimmer Drops is a little bit misleading. I did have to dispense a little bit more because what I had on the back of my hand already dried down. So you definitely have to work quickly with these. But that looks so pretty. I do really, really like that shade. Okay, I do really like the way that that looks. So I do like this product so far, but I do need to play with it a little bit more, but so far so good. I'm gonna set my under eyes with the e.l.f. Prime and Stay Finishing Powder. And then this powder is the newest one in my collection. This is the Kimchi Chic Puff Puff Pass Set and Bake Powder, and I got this one in translucent. I've really been enjoying this one. It's definitely more matte than the Makeup by Mario one, but not quite as matte as the Huda Beauty one. I feel like those are the two powders that I always compare other ones to. It does come with this really big powder puff, so I don't use this one. I kind of just use it to keep the powder in place. I think I did use it once though, but I do prefer my Sephora Collection powder puff. So this is what I'm gonna use to set my face. But here's what the powder looks like. And it technically is translucent, but it does look like it has a little bit of a tint to it. But on me, this does look like a translucent powder. I do like to dump it into the cap, and then I press the powder puff into it. And then I just tap off the excess onto the back of my hand. And even though I am setting over that blush, I feel like the pigment isn't going anywhere. I'm gonna prime my lids with the Rare Beauty eyeshadow primer, and I'm just gonna use my concealer brush to blend that out. I did have to go feed my cats, so I took a few minutes of a break, but I'm gonna do some eyeshadow next, and I'm gonna use this palette. This is the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3, which I had been wanting pretty much all of last year, and I put it on my Christmas wish list, and my husband ended up getting it for me. So I have been playing with this one, and I really, really like it. This is an all matte palette, and you get a top row that's more warm toned and neutral, and then the bottom row is more cool toned. So pretty much all that you need as far as a matte palette goes. The formula is beautiful. I love Patrick Ta's matte formula. So I'm gonna create a look with this today, but I do have a couple of new eyeshadows from e.l.f. These are the Finest Fleck glitter eyeshadows, which are pretty much eyeshadow toppers. So I figured these are gonna go really well with this palette. I have two shades. This one is called Champagne Showers, and this one looks similar to Space Cowboy from Urban Decay. So here is Champagne Showers, and then this one is called Filthy Rich. And this one to me looks very similar to Lithium, also from Urban Decay. These shadows look promising. I know I've heard some mixed feelings on these, but I'm super excited to try these. So I'm gonna apply some matte shades from the Patrick Ta palette first. I'm gonna mix these two lighter matte shades, and I'm gonna use those to set from the brow bone down to the crease. I've been doing this lately, and it kind of just helps to set down the eyeshadow primer, and it helps me to blend out the other shades more easily. I cleaned off the brush, and now I'm gonna mix Classic and Needed, and I'm gonna apply those into the crease. These mattes are so easy to work with. They're honestly becoming some of my favorite matte shades in my collection. I've always really liked Patrick Ta's matte formula, but I think now that I have this all matte palette, I appreciate them even more because they're so easy to work with. So I'm applying more of those shades in the outer corner and then blending them into the crease. Next, I'm taking the shade Crucial, pressing that onto the outer corner, and then dragging a little bit up into the outer edge of the crease. Going back in with my fluffy blending brush, I'm going to take the shade Fundamental, and I'm going to use that to line my upper lash line. This is just the perfect deep brown cool tone shade, so I love using this one to line my upper lash line. That's pretty much all I've been using it for, and it doesn't have to be super precise. I am going to smudge it out a little bit. So now I'm taking this pointed brush, and I'm going to smudge out that deeper shade. And this is the Morphe A7 brush. And then for the lower lash line, I'm gonna mix Classic and Kneaded. So pretty much what I used in the crease. So smudging that along my lower lash line. And then taking the shade Crucial, I'm gonna keep this one on the outer edge of the lower lash line. And then connecting it to the upper lash line. And then blending that out lightly. I think I'm gonna apply the shade Filthy Rich to the lid, but I wanted to quickly show you some of the Urban Decay Moondust shadows that I have and compare them to the e.l.f. ones. Okay, so swatching Champagne Showers from e.l.f. This one isn't super pigmented. I feel like I really have to dig into this to get any sort of pigment. So it's definitely more of a topper formula. But here is Champagne Showers. Very, very sheer. And then here is Space Cowboy. Honestly, they don't look as similar as I thought they would. So holding them up side by side, I feel like you can really see that they're not extremely similar. Like they have a similar undertone, I would say. They have that like light bronzy undertone. Oh yeah, the Urban Decay one is way more glittery and it's more of a fine shimmer. So it does look way more sparkly than the e.l.f. one. And then I figured I would show you Ritz from ColourPop as well. Here they are side by side in the pan. So here is ColourPop Ritz at the very end. And the formula is the creamiest, I would say, out of all three of these. It does look the most similar to Space Cowboy from Urban Decay. So I'm gonna swatch Filthy Rich next. Okay, so far Filthy Rich has a stronger base to it. So it doesn't look quite as sheer as Champagne Showers. That is gorgeous. I think this one is my favorite one so far, just from swatching them. It's one of those taupey bronzy shades that I really like. So let's swatch Lithium right next to it. And I had decluttered this Urban Decay Moondust palette during my last declutter series, but no one took it, so I ended up keeping it. And I'm glad that I did because I have used the shade Lithium every once in a while. This is one of my favorite Urban Decay Moondust shadows. So here is Lithium. This is such a beautiful taupey bronzy shade. And this is a super old palette, but it still works overall. Some of the shades in here are a little bit more dried out now, but the shade Lithium is still going strong, so I still use it sometimes. So they are similar, but also different. The e.l.f. one has a darker base to it. It's not as wet looking, but it's still a really pretty shade. Lithium has a similar undertone, so they do look similar in that sense, but the formulas are very different. Still both very pretty shadows. Let's go ahead and try on Filthy Rich on the lids. So I'm pressing that on with my finger. And right off the bat, it is quite pigmented. I'm seeing a little bit of a grayish green undertone. I don't know how it's showing up on camera. I am adding a couple of layers and it's not getting chunky or anything. I'm gonna take my fluffy blending brush and blend out the crease. I'm loving the way the matte warm shades are looking with the cooler toned lid shade. I feel like it's a really pretty combo, so I'm loving that. This shadow is super pretty. So I'm gonna use Champagne Showers as an inner corner highlight. And I'm gonna take some into the inner portion of the lid and up into the crease as well. And then dragging some into the inner portion of the lower lash line as well. These shadows are gorgeous. I really don't have any complaints about them, but I wouldn't call them dupes for the Urban Decay Moondust shadows. They're definitely not the same formula, but I'm not complaining. They may not be dupes, but they do feel like high quality eyeshadows. I am gonna do my brows off camera and I'll come back to do the lips. Revlon came out with these ColorStay multi-liners. I tried this shade yesterday. This one is called As Is, and this is a warm brown shade. But I also have Dynamic Doer, and this one looks more like a neutral, almost pinky brown shade. But I really like this formula so far. It's very creamy, so it does glide onto the lips very easily, but it does set down. And this is a multi-liner, so you can use it for multiple things like eyeliner, lip liner, and freckles. it says in the description. I don't do freckles, so I haven't tested that out yet. So here is the shade As Is, and this is a warm brown. And then here's the shade Dynamic Doer, which is definitely more neutral. But I think I am gonna apply this shade As Is. So now I'm just gonna take that brush and smudge it out. And I am gonna top it with this e.l.f. Glimmer Lip Oil in the shade Chocoluxe. I can't stop using these glimmer lip oils. This shade, Chocoluxe, has been my most used one. So I'm gonna apply that over top of that lip liner. Yeah, that is exactly what I wanted for my lip combo today. Very warm and chocolatey, especially with the warm tones in the crease. So because these multi-liners are also eyeliners, I'm gonna take the same shade that I used on my lips and I'm gonna apply that in my waterline. It doesn't show up quite as pigmented in the waterline as it does on the lips, but it does show up once I build it up. I love that shade in the waterline, and I think especially because I also have it on my lips, it all kind of just comes together really seamlessly. So I'm gonna spray my face with the e.l.f. Tinder Situationship Setting Mist. This is pretty much their regular setting mist, but it is the limited edition bottle. Alright, so that is it for this makeup look. I did go ahead and apply the Clio Kill Lash Super Proof Mascara in the sleek volume version. So I really enjoyed all of the products that I used today. I'm gonna have to keep testing them because I don't have my final thoughts right now. Let me know what makeup you guys are trying in 2025. Have you purchased anything so far this year? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!